record. And according to the little voice thing, it said that recording was in progress. So
Yeah.
we'll start it with a three, two, one, and say hello, everybody. Welcome to a. I don't know if this is a Merlin cast or it's more of a subset. I just kind of called it Dr. Peter's Sci-Fi Classics because we just talk about old sci-fi movies and stuff. And obviously, I've got the guest co-host guy, Dr. Peter Optimus Prime Brian.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
So yeah, man, I know you. I think you gave me the option to pick. So today we're going to talk about a movie that I feel like uh, I really don't discuss that much with other people. I don't hear discussed enough, but I do think it's quite good, and that is Enemy Mine. I think 1985.
Yeah, 1985, December, I believe.
Oh, it was a okay holiday release. Interesting. I remember a little bit of stuff I've heard about the movie was that I think one reason why it didn't do well was because they had a hard time figuring out how to market it. And I understand why because we'll go into the synopsis briefly, I guess. But really, I was talking with one of my buddies about it the other day, and I said I thought it was a very good sci-fi movie, and he said, yeah, it's a very unique
Hmm.
sci-fi movie. Like there aren't many movies that deal with that subject matter in that particular way, and I could see it being very kind of odd. But that's one of the things I really like about it, and yeah, so. I don't know. Do you want to do synopses or I? I mean, it's pretty simple.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward um,
Concept.
concept. Two enemies are crash land on a hostile planet and have to work together to survive.
Hmm.
Dennis Quaid is sort of the
Hmm.
typical, uh,
America, I hate those
yeah,
alien bastards.
yeah, the typical racist.
The typical racist, expansionist,
Yeah, yeah, it's
Earthman.
definitely kind of that gung ho.
Very
Uh,
kind of an old West traditional American hero type in some ways.
yeah, very very much so. Very much that kind of classic.
Hot-headed
Yeah,
gunslinger
almost a
adventurer.
John Wayne type.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
actually. Hmm.
and the crash lands due to a fight in the opening scene on a planet with Jerry, played by Louis Gossett Jr., under a lot of makeup, who's this sort of lizard lizard-like
Yeah,
creature.
they describe them as reptile, though I think they're probably closer to amphibian based on what we see.
Yeah.
Because he obviously enjoys the water and those little
Mhm.
I don't know the technical term, but you know how frogs have that a piece under the chin that's where the air goes in. They've got that sort of reverberating thing around the cheeks. So lizard reptile thing person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over time, they are forced to cooperate to survive. They end up saving each other's lives several times, and as time goes by, it turns out that Jerry Ba, is pregnant or going to reproduce. It's sort of it's an interesting take on gender in this film with
Very progressive actually. Very
yeah,
very interesting. Yeah.
yeah, where he gives birth and dies. In fact, with Zamis is his
Zamis.
Zamis is his
Hmm.
son, um, who is then raised by Dennis Quaid until the arrival of some bad humans, which creates a whole new conflict and
uh,
uh,
one of whom is the one of the runaway androids from Blade Runner, the guy that
yeah,
gets mad about the mother question. That guy.
yes, yeah. So there may be it's maybe sort of a
Spin off.
quasi prequel to Blade Runner.
Could be actually.
You
We don't
know,
know. Yeah.
yeah, we don't know. Yeah, we kind of because we're only getting a small view of this world. So
I like that, and yeah, that's pretty much the synopsis, and maybe we'll go into more spoilers later. But I kind of liked what you said about that just there. How I really like stories, kind of like Blade Runner in a way where they've got like this big expansive world, but we only see this one part of it. because it's so grounded and focused, and we kind of can infer a lot, but there's still so much we don't know, and in a weird way, that kind of makes it feel more believable in a sense. Like we're just kind of there with them.
Yeah, we only get. It's interesting because we don't actually spend any time on the human ship until much later in the movie. We kind of start off in this space battle with everyone running to their
Hmm.
fighters, and then eventually go back there much later in the movie, where we actually get some interesting. Okay, here's the medical technology. Here's how they do funerals. There's an interesting.
Yeah, a little bit of satire. I actually, it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie because it kind of, it's almost like a different change of pace because we think he's almost dead and then you find out he's not, and so he's kind of in this weird transient state where it feels it's all very dreamlike, like you're in out of consciousness as he goes to the levels of the space station. It's quite interesting. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a really interesting sort of way to head into the conclusion. Um, and I like that we got these little snippets of this, although some of it may have come from the difficult production.
Yeah, I heard I know that this one had well, I do think that most of it was one director, but I know there was probably some carryovers at the beginning. And I've heard I don't know this for sure, but I've heard rumors that that whole part towards the end was kind of different and rushed, and maybe we need this or could have been fleshed out more.
Yeah, so the backstory is that it was originally directed by Richard Loncraine. He's probably best known for the Richard III with what's his face,
Ian McKellen?
Magneto,
Ian
Ian
McKellen?
McKellen. Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's a good
yeah
movie.
that the sort of fascist Richard III.
Hmm.
But he ends up getting fired like most of the way through the production. They'd already
Oh.
shot a lot of it. Um, and Wolfgang Peterson, who at that point was known for Das Boot,
Hmm.
and I think had maybe just wrapped on Neverending Story, came in and basically just started over from the beginning.
Yeah, he redid the whole movie pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, including like the makeup and a lot of the other stuff.
Which, to
Um,
be honest, based upon what we got, I think I'm happy about.
yeah, I think I am too. But speaking of that ending, and I don't know if the story is apocryphal or not, that some executive wanted to have a mine because he couldn't understand what
Oh,
to name enemy mine. And it's
oh
like, oh, we
yeah.
need to have an enemy mine.
Oh yeah, okay, okay, you're right. I did hear about that too, and that's where they said, "Wait a minute, the two titles confusing." Okay, well, let me ask you about that then. All the times watching this growing up, I never even thought about that. Like whenever, I guess maybe I always thought more abstractly about it. Like, and you could tell me if I'm off base by this. When I think enemy mine, I think it's got almost like a bit of a double meaning because I mean, initially I think enemy mine like they're in space, maybe there's minefields or something, and that doesn't really happen, but it's kind of almost indicative of something that going behind enemy lines. But or I guess the other meaning is like just simply like my enemy essentially.
Yeah, I think it's meant to be more than my enemy. I've never read the original novella. That's from
79,
1970.
I
Yeah,
think.
late 80s.
Yeah, I actually I
But
didn't know that it was based on a series of short stories
mhm.
until preparing for this, and I was like, oh, and I looked it up, and apparently, like the first story is what the movie's based on, but there were a couple other ones that actually follow on with how it continues, and it's sort of isolated, and Dennis Quaid's character comes back, and I thought I had mixed feelings about it because the message of the story and at least of the movie adaptation is kind of more positive, even though they skip it. Whereas in the books, like no, there's still a lot of war and stuff afterwards. It's not wrapped up so neatly because these two people got along.
Yeah, and I did like that there's not really some big solutions. Not like, oh, and now we have a peace treaty. We get that hope because we know that eventually, in the distant future, Willis
Dulwich,
does get, yeah, he gets to go to the,
the Holy Council, and his line is his his name is written into the line of of Zamis and Jerry's lineage. He's included in the lineage,
Yeah.
which is like obviously a big deal because an outsider, a human, at least from, and I'd imagine the Holy Council being a huge governmental or influential body of their society, that's probably a big deal for the Drac at least.
Yeah, I definitely think that that's the case, although we don't actually
We
know. We just have, for
it's
all we
all
know, it's the Elks Lodge, or.
it's just some little it's some little church group Jerry was a part of. It might not have had anything to do with their. Oh, that's messed up. Okay, I think the way that the final shot is framed with the orchestral music and the beat, I'm pretty sure they're implying this was a good
Yes.
thing, Peter. Damn it. Don't
Yes.
take away the hope from the end of the little movie.
No, I agree. It's a good thing. It's
though uh though I have to ask you though, in addition to it being rushed, maybe that's because it is this far away shot of the landscape where instead of a close up like Star Wars style with Zamis and Davidge getting like a medal or something, you know what I mean? I that might have been part of it. Maybe they
yeah,
wanted to.
I could definitely see that as a, oh, we can't get Dennis Quaid back, but his stand-ins here, so we're gonna quickly
Zoom out.
yeah, do a long shot, and oh, hey, look,
They're there. Um, but yeah, I feel like bounced around it a little bit, but I guess that it's one of those ones I'm not sure of. But I think that for me, this is definitely something I could do a Joe Loves Movies on at some point because it's just I really like. Um, well, all right, when we go through this, we kind of say like we pick these a slightly more obscure, maybe less talked about sci-fi movies, or that we think need the conversation, and we both agreed this one is probably on the list. Uh, and for me, I don't know, Peter. Well, all right, let's start with you. What is it about when I brought up Enemy Mine that made you think, okay, this is good to talk about? What do you like? What sticks out to you the most?
well, it's one of those. It's a movie that failed an initial release. It part of it is it was way over budget due to basically making two movies.
Yeah.
Um, but it stuck around. The term enemy mine, when you say that, most people know what you're saying. Well, okay, it's two enemies stuck together in a situation. It's become a trope in itself. It's become sort of entered the vernacular, even if it is um, maybe just among us sci-fi fans.
True, which is
Uh,
is enough, I guess.
yeah, but it is one that I think deserves more attention. I don't know that it's not necessarily some lost classic that nobody's ever talked about because it is in the conversation. And I think the movie does have some problems, particularly at
The end.
the yeah the long fight at the mines. But
Yeah, we could talk a bit more about that. Yeah, I like what you said about it becoming kind of a trope because I'm sure that concept has existed before, but obviously when I think that's probably the biggest on the biggest scale I can think of for that time. Because other than that, I think most of the other examples I could think of are Star Trek. Like, remember the episode with Geordi with the Romulan
yeah,
is one, and the one in DS9, which isn't quite the same, but when Odo and Quark have to work out the differences on the planet when they're stuck out there. So Star Trek has used that trope a couple times to get two people to work together when they need to due to outside circumstances, which is pretty obvious, I guess, but it's a great message, a great sci-fi moral idea. Uh, and I feel like for me, Enemy Mine, I agree with you. I think the strongest part is definitely between Jerry and Davidge, or Dawish, as he often calls him. I really, and watching it again, I always picked up on this, I guess, but I really couldn't formalize the words for it until later. But sometimes you realize why you appreciate things later. And in terms of just really capturing how alien the Drac character is, he he it that it feels like a different being from a very different culture, very alien, and that is the incredible makeup. Like I didn't realize how good the makeup was, but I was like, wow, not this isn't any hyperbole, Peter. I looked at him like, wow, that I believe that is an alien being right there. Like it
yeah.
The only shot in it, which was kind of when he's about to attack him, you can kind of tell it's a bodysuit, but when he's covered with clothing the rest of the time, like the head, the hands, it just seems so solid and detailed and layered. It's incredible. And the performance. I know you want to talk, and I'm just going here. Hold the thought, but yeah, the little details, like I said, the little cheeks reverberating when he breathes, and probably just I think the two biggest components, which were the big barriers, obviously they're cultural, but the sort of his religious ideologies, and which we learn about later is okay. There's some similarities, so maybe we're not so different, and the language barrier and how they kind of picked that up over time, and the what Gossett Jr. did to just really sell that performance of this is a real alien language. I totally believe it, even though apparently it's Russian backwards. It still sounds really alien to me, and it's the gaw, the gutter, that Jamaica, I just it's. I mean, when I do it, it sounds like Klingon, but it just sounds like a legit alien language, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and I would add to that that this film was very popular in post-Soviet Russia,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and part of it is this is we can clearly read like a Cold War undercurrent to this,
totally.
but I think it also um, there is these elements to this that he acts like an alien might look and act, and we accept it. And there is a lot of time spent in very close quarters um, between these two actors and having to, um, being in these places that could very easily um, go wrong,
Hmm.
and undoubtedly, so I'm sure it's hot in there, but it looks good. It makes sense. The kids' makeup's good too.
Oh yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And in fact, when you were bringing up that part about Jerry dying and Davidge having to take care of Zamis, I'll admit I was getting a little teary just thinking about it because like
Yeah.
that whole. You see, I'm always kind of conflicted because I feel like I really want to say the best part is their dynamic between Jerry and Davidge, but the heart of the movie is like his camaraderie, friendship, his love for this other being that he initially hated just because they were different and a lot of other factors, I'm sure. And he overcame that and really took it upon himself to raise an alien child, and then did and grew to love that child as much as it was his own, and was even encouraging him to. I'll tell you what, the part that really gets me always a little. I was surprised. Like that kid does a great job. That kid
Mhm.
does a really good performance, really good. You're right, great makeup too. Is when he's like, what's the line? Like, I I have three fingers. Like what is it? I have four. I have what? How many fingers does he have? Is it
Yeah.
three? Three. He's like, why I don't have? I want five fingers. Oh.
Yeah.
It's like I Zami's 4 5. Like because it's like I wish I looked like you. I wish I had your
Yeah.
face because there's no other Drac around. And he wants to identify with the only other person he knows. He feels very lost and alone, no cult. So it's like that to me always like breaks my heart a little bit. And Dad was like, no, you're great. Like you're great. I remember he starts off the movie being like, this alien's ugly, but he's like, no, you look great just the way you are. And it's just, I think it's just a beautiful idea.
Yeah. It really. I mean, and yeah, I think Louis Gossett Jr. We can sing his praises to death, and but Dennis Quaid's really good in this too. He really brings stuff that I didn't
Think he was capable of.
yeah I didn't expect from him because he's a fine actor, but he often
Well, the
you know
joke around film fanatics, at least that I've tried to put, is that he's kind of the discount Costner
yeah.
for a lot of ways. But you know something, Peter? Uh, in all honesty, this is my favorite Dennis Quaid movie. Maybe it's at least my favorite performance of his.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah, like that. Yeah, I can see that. I mean,
But
I'd say that it's probably either this or I mean, I do like him in Inner Space. Another.
Enter Space, I don't remember very
Oh,
well,
okay.
but I think I did see it once. I think we mentioned it once on here. Maybe we'll have to
Yeah,
watch it again. Uh,
yeah. But
but
I mean,
cool.
but I think of him in films like Dragonheart, which is fun, but
Oh yeah,
it's
that's I
very broad,
right.
very.
Yeah, I like that movie quite a bit, but I do sometimes question like his yeah, there's a lot of very uneven acting throughout that movie actually from different people. But I do like him in that. That's true. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Though I think Sean
yeah,
Connery's the big one in that
yeah. Nobody's there to see Dennis Quaid.
movie. Well, so I'm sure somebody was.
I'm sure somebody was, but
But no, I think this is really one of his best movies, and it's a shame because I feel like he might be pushed aside. But if more people knew about this movie and he had more opportunities to play with more heavy scripts with complicated issues and some good direction, I think he could have shined more. You know,
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think he had potential. He just never.
quite.
Part of it's he never really had people pushing him that much beyond this, where he did have to carry a lot of the scenes, especially with the kid, sort of that second half of the movie.
Hmm.
Um, but
Yeah, I'll tell you another thing that really stuck out for this movie as well. In addition to, I always kind of wondered what it was that atmospherically I liked about this movie because I think that the film has a great atmosphere due to the music and the sound design and just in terms of the sets and the locations that they used and the matte paintings.
mhm,
Like this is something else I stress. For the most part, it really does feel like a very alien world and there's because of the music and like the sound effects like when the engines are going with a like there especially early on that opening battle like it's tense. You've got that haunting image of the dead astronauts in floating in space and then it cuts. It's like there's that sense of dread throughout a lot of the movie. There's some intense horror elements like you don't quite feel safe, not just because of the Drac but on the planet, and of like with the image of when Davidge, of course, goes out to look for more humans because he thinks he hears this ship, but maybe it's just in his mind, and that's haunting. But then he goes out there, and then matched with a funny space Pepsi can, which I love that product placement, though the weird shaped Pepsi. That image of the you got the maggots there, and then the Drax skull with the snake thing coming out of it,
yeah,
like that disturbed me. It still gets me now. Like it's such a it's a haunting image, and you're like like scavengers.
yeah. It's a fantastic production design because it really, like you said, it really does feel like a hostile alien planet. It does not feel like it's another quarry. Okay,
Yeah, oh yeah, another field somewhere.
yeah,
Like I shot this in my backyard. No, they really and apparently they did shoot this. I guess they shot it somewhere else and then a different location. I think it was originally like in was it Norway or something or
Iceland was the
Iceland? Yeah.
originally produced in Iceland, and then Germany is
Yeah.
where they ended up. I believe it might all be on a soundstage. I'm not.
Yeah, and I it's like some of that I could believe, but like that when they're in playing football in the forest, I'm
Yeah,
like that could be a forest, but it's so dusty. I guess it could be a soundstage. But if that's the case, it's some of the best soundstage stuff I've ever seen in sci-fi. If it's all in camera in a studio, I really like that. And somebody pointed out that the atmosphere of this movie and the story it really and with Davidge's character it feels like a 1950s sci-fi movie but darker grittier in the 80s you know
yeah. Like, and I could easily see, especially the first half, as sort of this is kind of a lighter sci-fi movie, but it's a very becomes something more than
the
just
typical
just
golden age stuff.
these two enemies got to learn to work together.
Hmm.
But because especially with the kid becomes a much more interesting movie than I think it would have been otherwise.
Also I want to mention briefly to you the other stars of the movie. What do you think scared me the most about this as a kid?
Ooh,
Can you remember? I mean there's certainly a couple parts that are scary. It's kind of heavy.
I mean, I feel like the whole the mine, the work camp was pretty intense.
The mine is an intense scene, but that's not the part that bothered me the most about the movie.
Okay.
Well, some other great special effects. We got our buddies, the weird slug turtle thing, and his
Yeah.
and the I don't even know what it is. A reptilian. See, the thing is this. It's a really creepy scene because I love the introduction. It's early when they first get to the planet. They cut to like the the biosphere or whatever of the nature and this planet and the turtle thing, which I think is a great little thing. It's got like weird proboscis and some weird eyes and hair, and it goes down, it falls into the pit, and then there's like that there's the sand kind of moves, and then out comes this thing, and you don't know what it is. It looks like a worm or snake, or it's got like these spiky things, and then it comes down. The music shoots up, and the turtle thing starts screaming, and it slowly pulls it down, and like, okay, so that's gonna be a problem later. And then Dennis Quaid falls in, and then the thing grabs him, and it's pulling him down. And okay, you think, oh, it's just grabbing him, but it's also like digging into his leg, and then it's just blood. They cut to it, it's all bloody, which I think is quite effective with the da 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 da, the fast paced music, and Jerry's running to him, and then it comes back again and tries to kill Jerry, and it's like turns out it's just the tongue of this thing, but man, that just especially not knowing exactly what that was. Talk about very alien and threatening. Speaking of hostile,
Yeah, yeah, it really does a good, yeah, like we've said, it does a good job with sort of the aliens feel like aliens. It's not just, even if the language is Russian in reverse, it feels alien. The culture feels alien. The creatures here feel alien, even if you might say, well, it's kind of like an ant lion, but there's more to it. It's um, really just a lot of imagination on display in this film.
definitely, and I even think that still counts for the ending with the mine. One little detail I always kind of liked was I've always kind of liked it in science fiction when they carry over certain technology just kind of stays, which almost makes it a little more believable in a sense. Like for instance, in this movie, Earth obviously has space travel. They got space stations, and we see when Quaid's doing the surgery. I like the little detail that, by the way, they're so unused to somebody coming back alive from war that they've got 14 people around this thing, and everybody's like, "What?" Like that's how bad it is. Like when you go, I guess you're gone. It's an interesting detail, but there's still pistols and shotguns. It's like that movie Outlander, Sean
Yeah,
Connery. I really appreciate that kind of fusion of low tech, and I also like the contrast of the Drac space laser pistol looks like an old school giant laser gun, and it's got the defensive thing where Quaid touches it, shocks him. But I like the carryover of there's these scavenger guys are still using basically old mining techniques and using the Drax as slave labor. So I guess you think the biggest problem is with the last part of the movie, and I heard that's like the one kind of complaint with it, which I still don't think is that big of a deal. But
no, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I think it gets a little. I feel like it's just draggy. It was a long fight. I liked that it's sort of the uprising of the other Dracs and the other aliens overthrowing the humans, and that, and when um, the other Federation or whatever the
mhm.
uh, Dennis Quaid's supposed to be part of, they come down. I thought that was fine. It just went on for a while.
Are you talking about like when the whole point when Davidge is infiltrating the mine, or you mean like the actual fight itself?
The actual fight itself, I felt like you could have done the infiltration and maybe like a short fight
Well,
with the main guy, and
well,
then
the reason I think it goes on a little is because it gets a little clumsy because the kid's unconscious. So the guy puts the kid into this cart that's
yeah,
going to go and slowly put the lava in. So it's one of those slow timed things. And he Dennis Quaid is distracted, but then he gets punched and knocked out and put into it. So that's why it's probably they're literally slowly about to be crushed or melted. So we're kind of waiting for them to be saved for half of it, which I kind of like that in a weird way. It's the humans and Drax sort of coming together to save them. That in a weird way, but
Yeah,
I see what you
yeah,
mean. It drags a little in the sense that Davidge is kind of like out of it for half the fight, so we're like
yeah, and it
waiting.
does, and it fits with the sort of idea of this is almost a 50s style serial where it is kind of this classic.
Will they make it? Tune in
Yeah,
next time to see if they're not burned alive. Yeah,
yeah.
it does kind of feel like that.
And I did like that you know gave everyone else had to sort of come together to save them, but it goes on for a while.
Do you think that the them working together, his friends coming to find him, is a and joining up with the Drax and everything? Do you think that's a little too easy? Do you think they
I
should have had
think
more
so. I mean,
arguments
I think we should have gotten more time,
with his friends, right?
yeah, with his friends to actually know, okay, who are these people? Why, you know?
Because it's like literally they find him, he's speaking Drac, they think maybe he's been brainwashed, working for the enemy, but they hated him. And you've got that one scene where it's like, okay, we cared about him, we stuck our necks out for you, said you weren't a traitor, then you're leaving, you're going to tell us why, you're going to tell us what happened, maybe why we shouldn't hate Drac. I feel like his the hatred that is permeating the soldiers is hinted at the beginning of the movie, and then these couple people they sort of take his word for it. They get over it. It took a whole scenario, and admittedly, they say Dennis Quaid hated Drac more than anybody, but still, it took him this whole experience to overcome his prejudice. Had his friends just kind of get over it based on his word? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I liked it, but I'm like, I did. I maybe they kind of were giving him the benefit of doubt because clearly something happened and they cared about him and wanted to understand. Like for instance, I do like that. I wish it was longer on the space station, but I like when he just leaves and he's literally
yeah,
getting in the plane like, "Let me out. I'm going through." The blows
yeah,
open the
yeah,
doors
yeah,
and I'm like, so okay, they're coming after him to arrest him or kill him. Like I don't, okay, great. He's let's face it, they don't obviously show this part of the story, but yeah, everything's resolved. But he comes back and he's court-martialed. That's why he's living on Drac because he's
yeah,
banished as a traitor. I don't know. Like there's some details. They're just like, hmm, I don't know. A little too smooth, maybe.
yeah, yeah. A little too smooth. Yeah, it's a movie that I think could have used another. Some of that time in the climax could have been better used as character development or set up for what we get at the end. But I think it
Um,
was fine.
yeah.
Certainly worth watching.
Oh, yeah. It certainly still works. It's just it's little details you think could have been fleshed out, maybe a tad more. Did you like the Did you like the super racist mining villains, or did you think they were a cheap ploy? Here are the evil humans.
I think it was actually good to have them because it gets to stuff earlier in the movie with there is a conversation about, oh, you humans are taking us as slaves, and uh,
Hmm.
the maybe being a little dismissive of that
Well,
by Davidge.
he did say there was that line that they knew they existed. They were criminals, pirates, but because they hated Drax, the Earth Federation didn't care. Essentially,
Yeah,
sort of
which I
implied that.
thought was good, well set up. It wasn't a surprise that they would show up there. I like that it gave him. Uh, he made the choice to when they see the ship coming down, he starts to run out there, realizes what's going on, and decides to stay.
Hmm.
And I like that they gave him that choice. I think it does work. I think they're a little over the top, maybe, but again, um, you kind of need that. You don't need it, but I
It's
think
nice.
as an '80s movie, I think they needed a villain to be
They
fought and overcome
do you think
the racism that wasn't.
there's levels like there's the prejudice that people have in general and then there's the people that are making it their lifestyle to be based around subjugating other people. There's like levels, but and I get that, but But do you think that I love it? I mean, I'll admit it, it leans a little into camp, which I'm fine with. But do you think that the villains, the main guys, are they a little over the top?
Yeah, they're a little they laugh a little too much at inflicting cruelty,
A little look at him run, look at him go.
but
But then again, maybe that's kind of realistic at the same.
yeah, that's I imagine for some racist miners on a black backwater planet, that's what they do for fun. They torment alien children, and
Um, Also, one little question I had for you, just because it's a little detail I wondered about. When they kidnap Zamis, I mean, the kid scratches the guy to try to get away. I was very surprised that Zamis lived. And remember, he's kind of kept in that section, and clearly under the ground there, a lot of those Drac have just been, I guess they starved to death in there, like they were punished. I'm thinking, were they just going to starve Zamius, or were they saving him to trade him like as a or sell him? Like I always wondered. I was very surprised the kid was still alive, to be honest.
yeah, that kind of felt like an odd choice. Um, like from a narrative perspective, yeah, you got to have the kid to rescue, and we don't, we need that for the ending. But it was kind of an odd decision by the villains who are kind of over the top and evil to, I guess maybe they want to like torture the kid to
Torture the
death or
kid.
something, but
Yeah, it's like I was like, why did they do that? That's weird.
yeah. I mean, the real reason is because we
I,
need to
be,
have a big
we
rescue,
we need
but
to have the climax of the movie and feel good about it. Instead, okay, he is dead. What does Dennis Quaid do? Gets sad and murders everybody in the mine, which might have been satisfying in a different way, but then he kills himself at the end because he's so sad. But then he's a legend or something for saving the mine.
yeah,
I mean, for saving the other Drac there. But no, we needed him to save the kid. We did.
yeah,
It's a pretty dark movie a lot of the time. Uh,
yeah. I think we needed a little bit of hope at the end. Um, Although, why couldn't we just have the kid scratch the guy and run off and hide, and
yeah,
then
why? Yeah, because look. To be fair, I think it's one of those situations where it's completely realistic for Zamis to go off and not do what his uncle said to do. But
yeah,
at the same time, I'm like, you dumb effing kid. Like, why did you do that? I don't know if Zamis is a kid. Maybe he doesn't know how to deal with other people. Literally, he doesn't. So
no,
he didn't. He was handling the situation. I did like that his first instinct was like he knows these people were bad, and they scratched the guy. Like something about him knew they weren't good people.
yeah, okay, sometimes kids
Well,
recognize it.
actually, then again, I guess he did literally see them whipping all the Drac and then literally crying about it. That was, I think, the scene directly before that, actually. So that might have clued him in a little bit.
Yeah, but yeah, the movie is not subtle, but that's okay.
No, no, it's a good message, and I think that yeah, the message isn't subtle, but it's a good one, and I think it's well executed. Um, yeah, I really do. Um, I like a lot of the dialogue in the movie, their exchanges about their differences and how they overcome them. Pretty much everything we said. I feel like we've probably given Enemy Mine its due, but is there anything else you could think of we haven't mentioned? Want to say quick or wrap
I
it
mean,
up?
I would note that at some point in development, Terry Gilliam was
Oh,
offered the chance to direct this, but turned it down to do Brazil, which
ah,
came out on the same day as Enemy Mine.
that is it. It does seem like something Gilliam would maybe tackle. It's got
Yeah,
some of those
yeah.
vibes.
It'd be interesting to see the Gilliam version of this, but
I think it would have been stranger, even
yeah,
stranger.
oh yeah.
No, that would have been cool. I also really liked yeah, I think how it tackles the idea of gender is interesting and how I always really liked, once again just commenting about how the lifestyle of a different species, a different planet is different and how that affects so many different aspects of their culture. And I always really liked the line which was like about how Jerry kind of believed like for humans procreation is choice, and your people split into two halves so that you could look you could enjoy the joining of feeling whole because you never totally feel whole, which is quite an interesting philosophical point. But we Drac don't have to, like, we just accept like the next cycle of giving birth and whenever it's the time. And I don't know, I just always found that interesting. And I really do love the scene of when he's teaching him about the Talman and talking about like you basically do unto others as they haven't do unto you. And Dennis Quaid's like, oh, huh, I have heard this before in the human Talmud. It's a nice little. I love that, like that they have similar beliefs. And that's pretty great. And we can't end the discussion without talk. I know it's kind of a heavy movie, but there is some good humor. And like the narration I kind of appreciate. Like the Drac was picking up words of his own. Shit, it looks like shit. That, of course, curse words are the first. And one of the great quotes of the movie, like, man, your great Shizma doesn't know shit. Well, your great Mickey Mouse is one big stupid dope, you know? And he's like, thinking he's going to be insulted because he told them that basically he joked offhandedly at Mickey Mouse is like the great teacher. And Dennis Quaid's trying not to laugh. So that there are some really good jokes in the
Yeah.
movie.
Oh
Good
yeah.
humor.
Yeah. This is a funny movie. It is not all like,
Grim.
yeah.
It's just like what, 50%, 60% grim.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they definitely play up the idea that death is just around the corner on this dangerous planet, and they lean into that, and that it is a brutal universe that they
Inhabit.
show us here. But uh, yeah, I think it's well worth a watch or rewatch if you haven't watched it. And I
Long
mean, I
time.
hadn't probably seen it in 10 years or something, but ahead of this.
Same, I think.
Yeah, but yeah,
Nah, man, I'm really glad we got to talk about it again. I don't, like I said, I don't hear it enough in conversation, and I'd like more people, especially, I think at the very least, if you appreciate sci-fi and you haven't watched it, I do think I think it's a must watch. I really do.
yeah, I think it is a um, far more important movie than it gets credit for, and even beyond the trope of the enemy mine, which again we've seen on Star Trek,
So many
and
other things.
Stargate does it, and
Yeah.
yeah, there's plenty of examples before and after this, but it does it so well, and it has one of the better depictions of alien culture that feels alien.
And believable. And
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, you're right, very believable, very fleshed out. And it's the details of combining not just, I think in a lot of movies like this, it's about creating the monster, creating the creature. And sometimes you got great practical effects or CGI, but creating the sense of culture and language, like this is another person with from, that's not something you see as often to that level.
no, yeah, it really does great work there. I mean, credit to Louis Gossett Jr.,
Big
I
time.
think it won the Oscar to a few years before this, but still put on that makeup, still showed up to work, still gave it his all. And
Well, you know what? I've heard that mentioned before about his performance in this movie. And to be fair, as we know, sci-fi and whatnot, but I really do think that, especially considering all the makeup and stuff, is I think that's an Academy Award nominate. Word. I think that's a brilliant performance. I
yeah,
really
oh
did.
yeah, I think that should have been
What
uh,
was it? 80? What was that? Been 86? What
80, 85.
85?
So,
So Oscars. What won around that time? Would have been
oh, is that the
86.
Out of Africa year?
Oh,
That my
oh,
most hated year.
oh! Out of Africa again.
Yeah,
Yeah, that movie. That movie bored me
yeah,
so much. Anyway, wow, that's fitting. That's extremely fitting. Well, anyway, what a note to end on. That's fine, I guess. But there's better Meryl Streep movies. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about Enemy Mine, man. Uh, you?
yeah. I think that's good. I think that's check it out. Find it wherever you can. I think it was on Amazon Prime at some point, and I don't know if it is anymore. But
Yeah, stream it, rent it.
yeah,
Honestly, like I said, I think it's worth owning, worth a couple watches for
yeah,
sure.
it's definitely worth owning. It's a little intense, but I think it's accessible enough for younger audiences if you have kids.
Yeah, definitely watch it with your kids. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't, maybe not small kids.
No, maybe not small kid. Yeah, I could definitely Yeah, but your 10 or 11-year old, I think could
Could handle
enjoy
it.
it and get some joy out of this movie.
Definitely. That's a good message. Well done stuff. Well,
Yeah.
Peter, you and I have to do another probably much longer video in
Yeah.
shortly here, so we'll cut this off. But you guys might see Peter again, and I maybe if we can get one or two more of these in before summer's over, that'd be cool. Maybe we can
Yeah,
discuss when you had your
yeah,
list.
I've got a few ideas, but I think we're open to suggestions as well. So if
Oh yeah,
there's
yeah. If people watch or listen and have suggestions, honestly, we'll probably do that. Be like, oh, somebody said something. So yeah, that too. We are open. So either way, we'll have some stuff to talk about. But thank you once again, Peter.
happy to be here.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching, and leave us some comments below your thoughts, suggestions, and in the meantime, of course, stay magical.